Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Booleans. So Booleans are true and false. They also are 1 and 0. So we utilize Booleans to basically control the flow of a program in league with if statements, logic operators, comparisons. So first off, let's kind of give us a bit of a start here and talk about our relational operators. So we can always check for equivalence with the equal sign. We can check if things are not equal to with the exclamation point equal. And then everything else is about the same. So greater than is going to be greater than or equal to. Less than is going to be itself again. Greater than or equal to is the greater than sign with the equal sign. Less than or equal to is the less than sign with the equal sign. So let's just double check and see how these work for us. So we have something like 1 is greater than 2. Again, that will give us false. Again, these are things like that we can just look at as like a sanity check. And again, notice here, 1 is less than 2 is going to be true. We can do 1 is equal to 1. That also will give us true. We can also do something like 1 is greater than or equal to and equal to 1. Okay, will also give us true. But we can also do things such as, move this up, is high is equivalent to high. So we can check if strings are equal. We can also do high is equivalent to by, and this will give us false. Now, if you've noticed, as you've been running these, everything is capital true, capital false, okay? These need to be capitalized the entire time, otherwise they will not work. So if, for example, we do something like just true, and we want to utilize this, and we run this, it's actually going to give us an error, because again, it thinks that true in this instance, because it's lowercase, is going to be a variable, okay? It's looking for it and saying it is not defined. So we have to make sure that that is a capitalized T, okay? So true. Now, if we want, all right, so we can also go through and we'll maybe talk about some logical operators. So the logical operators for Booleans are and, or, and not. Now, these are, again, they have very similar meanings to their English counterparts. So, for example, is x greater than 0 and x is less than 10 is only true if x is greater than 0 and less than 10. So let's go through maybe these 3 examples here really quickly, okay? So we have this line here of b is equal to true and c is equal to false. And so if we do b, again, let's just do this as a sanity check here, we notice that b actually pops up. So b is true, okay? So we want to check not b. All right, so let's do this. So b true if b is false, or false if b is true. So if we change this to, for example, not b, and we run this, this will change our true b to false. So not true is false. Okay, and so remember here, we actually have c is false. So if we run this, c, so not false is going to be true. So it basically switches the signal here. Now we can also do and. So let's do b and c. Now it'll be true if both, if both b and c are true, false otherwise. So we have a true for b and a false for c. So we should get false here. Okay, now if we change true, or c to true, and run this, and then we rerun this, we will get true because both b and c are true. Now we can also try this b or c. So now we have a b is equal to true, c is equal to true, and we change this to the or operator, and we run this. We get true. Now if we change c back to false, run this and run this again, we're going to get true as well, because at least one of these two are true. So it's true if b is true or if c is true, otherwise false. So in order for our or statement to be false, we have to use both b and c are false. Okay, I hope that kind of helps. Now we can also do these in a little bit more complex manner. So let's do something like 1 is greater than 2, and And let's use the AND operator, and 2 is less than 3. So let's do this kind of in our head first, okay? So is 1 greater than 2? So we'll have a false, and we have 2 is less than 3. So is 2 less than 3? That is true. And if we go back up to our AND statement, true if both, if both B and C are true, false otherwise. So based on that assumption, we are going to assume that this should come out as false. Okay, false, correct. Okay, so if we change, if we maybe do another one here. So let's say that 1 is greater than 2, or 2 is less than 3. Now again, we know that this is false and true. Okay, so but now we're using the OR operator here. So it's true if B is true or if C is true. So our expectation for this, our expectation for this is that this should pop out true because at least one of them are true. True, okay, good. Now we can also add in such a little bit more complex statements. Okay, so let's give an example here of 1 is equivalent to 2, or 2 is equivalent to 3, or 4 is equivalent to 4. Okay, so what do we have here? How is this going to work out? We have a false, or true. Okay, so I'll let you guys think about it for just a second. What do you think it's actually going to be? When we're on this, it gets true because, again, one of them are true. All right, good. Now, I hope you kind of have the basics of utilizing our Boolean operators here and our logic operators. Now let's move on to our if-else statements, and this is where things get very, very powerful. So if, elif, and else statements, okay, are going to be the powerhouse of a program, and it's how we control our flow. So these are one of the most useful tools that we have at our disposal, and they help control the behavior of our programs. So first off, let's just check about an if statement. Now, an if statement, again, it's going to execute a code depending on the state of the program. So this also gives us the ability to just kind of look at our program and see how we want it to run. So maybe the most easiest thing we can do is if true, print hello. Now this, again, this is our conditional. This is our condition here, okay? It'll always evaluate some sort of condition. Right now I'm just gonna set it to true, and it will run, okay? We get hello. It will print out whatever our statement is, our little chunk of code that we want to run here. Now if it will evaluate to false, notice nothing is going to print out, okay? This is kind of the most simple way that we can run this. Now let's maybe give one more example. Let's say x is equivalent to 10, okay? And I'm going to say x is equal to 10 up here. So if x is equal to 10, it will print, otherwise it will not. So let's run this, and it should print out because, again, is x equal to 10? So if I run this in this cell below and we take a look, we notice that it evaluates to true. Okay, so if, and then this statement is true, then it's going to run, okay? So if we change this to any other number, let's turn it to 1, for example, this will not print out. Okay, so let's also go for a couple other examples here, okay? So if we go on to an else statement, this is basically an alternative execution. Okay, so there are basically going to be two possibilities that are going to determine whether this runs, and the alternatives are called branches. Okay, and these other branches, we also have elif statements, and we'll go through those in just a minute. But right now, let's use an else statement. So let's do, for example, let's go back to our numbers. If 1 is greater than 2, print let's say line 1. And then we have the else statement. okay? And this is basically, if this evaluates to false, run this. So print line 2. Okay, so this will print line 2 because, again, this evaluates to false, and then we'll skip this chunk of code and we'll go down to the else statement and we'll run this. So if we change this and we want to make it true and run this, now we're going to see that, again, that is going to print line 1. You can also think about this in terms of maybe like rudimentary doing passcodes, okay? So we can say something like password is equal to, and we'll actually make it a string, so 1, 2, 3. And so if password is equivalent to 1, 2, 3, print welcome. All right. Else, say print password incorrect. Try again. Okay. So our password is equal to 1, 2, 3. So then it's going to say, oh, you are correct. So it's going to actually print out welcome. Now, if we do something like we just delete one of these and we run it again, notice now they are not equivalent. It's going to say password incorrect, try again. So again, when this evaluates to true, when this line evaluates to true, it will print out this line, or it'll run this section of code. Else, and then this is going to be your else statement here. Now, I think we've done a couple nice, easy examples here, and let's move on to maybe an Elif statement. So again, sometimes and a lot of times there are more than 2 possibilities, so we need 2 branches, okay? So this Elif is actually the abbreviation for else if, and so it's exactly one branch will run, okay? So that's why we also need the else statement in here. So there's no limit to the number of Elif statements we can have. So if there is an else clause, it does have to be at the end though, okay? And so we're basically chaining conditionals in this instance. So if we do if 1 is equivalent to 2, okay, print first, Elif, let's say 3 is equivalent to 3, print middle, and then else we're going to print here last. So notice this is going to print middle, okay? Because again, this evaluated to false. This evaluated to true, so then it stops and it runs. Now, if we change this to 2 here and we run this, notice we get first. Now, notice something very, very peculiar here, okay? This code basically breaks out of checking statements as soon as it runs to its first true statement. Okay, so if this is true, all right, so if that first if statement is true, it runs that first line of code, and then it basically stops running, okay? Technically, it escapes out of this whole conditional chain, okay? And then it'll start running more of the program if there's more afterwards. So always kind of keep this in the back of your mind when you're wanting to create these chained conditionals, okay? What if, for example, this will always evaluate to true, then you're going to be having problems in the future. So let's maybe do one more of these so that we can kind of play around with it. So let's do something like, actually let's just change it so that we're evaluating x. Okay, so let's do x is equal to 10 again. So if we run this, it's going to give us last, okay? Because again, we're checking x is equal to 10. So is x equal to 2? False, so it skips over. Then x is going to be equivalent to 3? No. Okay, so it's false again, and so then it's just going to resort to printing our last expression here. So just again, for sanity's sake, we'll change this to 3, and we'll run it one more time. And then we can see here that it will run again until it gets to our true statement, prints out true, and then that section of the code will end. Now I'm going to leave it off here. Next time we'll be talking about for loops and while loops. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked it, please subscribe and give us a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.